Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I want to talk to you about episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the Echo series on Disney Plus, Marvel's Echo. So I did a video the other day in which I did a recap and review of the first episode, the premiere episode of Marvel Studios' Echo. And I explained before that video that I hadn't ever heard of this character before the Hawkeye show, but that I had since learned that she has a huge history in the Marvel comics, in which she's tied to Kingpin and Daredevil and so forth. And how, because I didn't know that at first, I wasn't going to watch the show because I didn't think much of the character as it was presented in Hawkeye. But then I decided, well, I should watch it because everybody's going to be watching it one way or the other, either because they really want to see it or they want to have something new to hate on. And so I should probably watch it. And let me tell you, I'm glad that I did. I thought that this series was excellent. The first episode, really grabbed me. And I explained why in my video detailing that episode. And I'm here to say that the subsequent 4 episodes were just as good, if not better, than the premiere episode. So Echo was set up in Hawkeye as the sort of leader of the tracksuit mafia after her father was killed, apparently by Ronin, but not necessarily, or not necessarily Hawkeye Ronin. And that all ended when she learned that Kingpin was behind her father's death. And so the story picks up there, where she's gone home to Oklahoma after, as far as she knew, killing Kingpin, intent on sort of taking over his empire and becoming, in her words, a queenpin. And in the first episode, we got to see a little bit about her Choctaw heritage, which didn't come up in the Hawkeye show at all. And that plays a central role in the rest of the story, increasingly so as it gets towards the end. And that's just one factor that contributed to this show being really, really great. So in the second episode, what she does is she hits one of Fisk's trains that are transporting, I guess, weapons. And she installs a bomb on it, and then it blows up the warehouse when it gets there. And, that's a huge blow against his operations. And that whole sequence where she goes about doing this was just amazing. There was a lot of running and jumping on top of a train and jumping off the train into a truck at the end. And, she does all this while deaf and with a prosthetic leg. And it was just so incredible. Some of the CGI was obvious, but I wouldn't call it bad. I think it was top-notch for the small screen. It's just that you could tell. And while I said in my recap and review of the first episode that she seemed a little bit extra realistically able for someone who can't hear and who has a prosthetic leg, and that's still true, but it was still awesome to see her carry out this mission to plant a bomb on the train without getting caught by Fisk's guards. And it was just very well done and exhilarating, and I loved it. And she does damage her leg in the process, so she has to get it repaired. Of course, thereafter, there's an even bigger bounty on her head than there was before. And some folks come looking for her, and that endangers the people in her lives, one of whom was her cousin from the first episode that she didn't want to know she was back in town, but who finds out. And she and the people she cares about are taken hostage by these bounty hunters, and she has to kick their asses. And she manages to do that with a little bit of craftiness. And, at the same time, she's having conversations with her loved ones and dealing with the fact that she's been gone for 20 years and all of that stuff comes up. And so that was all in there. And, along the way, she keeps getting these flashes of her ancestors, one who was the Choctaw version of like sheriff's deputy, I guess you could say, when it wasn't necessarily proper for women to be that. And other ancestors of her who were great strategists in, probably among other things, athletic contests. And, you see over the course of the series that she has sort of powers that her ancestors had, which all culminates in an awesome display of those powers right at the end of the final episode, which I thought was great. But before we get to the end, Kingpin does show up in her hometown and reveals that he's still alive and tries to have dinner with her. And she kind of wants to kill him, but doesn't. And, you know, he's like, it's okay that you tried to kill me. I want you to come back to New York with me. And he kind of leaves it at that, you know, but she ends up not going because she doesn't want to be with him. She goes on the run, but he goes back and menaces her family. And she figures that out because they don't show up at this powwow in the final episode. And so she goes to look after them, and she runs into a vision of her mother that explains to her that, you know, she has all these abilities that are being passed down to her from her ancestors, which is a very big thing in Native American culture. And it sort of just moves her to stay and fight rather than run. And, you know, she's given a special outfit that her grandmother made for her that you'd seen her grandmother making earlier. You know, she goes and she confronts Kingpin, and she uses her powers to like go into his mind and try to heal his past, which, you know, happens to be its own sort of tragic story because he killed his father with a ball-peen hammer because his father kept abusing his mother, but he resists, and she eventually lets him go and he leaves, although quite disturbed by what she did. And, you know, before that, she managed to take out all his goons with the help of her grandmother and her cousin, all of whom are imbued with the powers of the ancestors because she spreads it to them. And it was just really, really cool and heartfelt. I'm giving it short shrift by not giving you a blow by blow. So you really have to see it to get the full weight of it. But I thought that this series was incredible. It was action packed. It was real. I said this before, the people in this show seem like real people. They don't seem like comic book characters. You know, they don't seem like caricatures of people. They seem very realistic. And there was just a lot of heartfelt stuff in this series that just made it great. And, you know, a lot of it was aesthetically awesome as well. There's a lot of sign language and a lot of scenes where there's no sound because, you know, she's deaf and you're sort of experiencing that. And it just was a joy to watch. It was a really, really great series. And in the end, she does decide to stay and be with her family, which was great because there were a lot of rifts there that she has to heal. And although that process has begun, she's got more to do. And Fisk kind of goes off half-cocked, and in an end credits scene at the final episode, he seems to be deciding to run for mayor of New York when he learns that it seems like the people of New York City are looking for an outsider like him, a bare knuckles brawler type guy. Where have we heard that before? But anyway, I think we're going to see the ramifications of that going forward because there is going to be a Daredevil series that's coming. And of course, Kingpin will be in that. What isn't clear is what they're going to do with the Echo character. I really hope they're not done with her. I really hope we're going to see more of this character because I think she's fantastic. What makes her fantastic is not that she's perfect or some kind of paragon or some kind of just super awesome character. What makes her awesome is that she's flawed and imperfect and in recovery from trauma of various kinds. She's sure of herself and unsure of herself at the same time. She's badass, and it's just an amazing character. And I really hope we're not done, you know, seeing stories from this character and her family, which, by the way, is also awesome. You know, the Marvel shows have been hit and miss. I thought WandaVision was really good, but I liked this even more. I enjoyed watching Hawkeye and She-Hulk and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Miss Marvel. I enjoyed that a whole lot, although again, I enjoyed this more. And I even got something out of watching Secret Invasion, which was not a great show. But this show, I think, was just fantastic all the way around. And I hope that they're not done with this character. I want to see more stories from this character. Only time will tell if that's going to happen. If you haven't seen the episodes, you should check them out. It's really, really good. I've said about all I can say without giving you a blow-by-blow of the plot, so I'm going to get out of here. But I will be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.